topic is talking about the passing of a lot of celebrities this year.
Oh yeah, dude, they're dropping like flies at this rate.
Well,
Not just needing low budget celebrities.
No.
Well-known celebrities.
So here's the thing.
Yeah, no, people who matter.
No, that's why. So this is the question. We'll start right here. Who do you consider a celebrity, or who do you consider like real celebrity status at this juncture in time? Because celebrity is a very
nowadays it's more
a very loose term. Well, I can say loose is more of a fluid term now.
flexible.
Yep.
Flexible. Okay, well, like, here's a comparison. Like, okay, so I think most of you
You're good, bro. You're good.
know who, what's his name? Moist Critical.
Yeah.
Right.
Much critical.
Moist Critical would you consider...
Shout out to Much Good, Critical, and Aspen Gold. Shout out to
Well, my point is that they'd be celebrities.
Mm-hmm. They are celebrities.
They are celebrities, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you have Henry Cavill or Jim Carrey,
Who is celebrity
who are
too.
more traditional celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's just more of traditional versus new age.
True.
So,
I think there's more regular people who are celebrity than what y'all think. You know, if that makes sense. Because before, celebrity used to be like, you have to be an athlete, a movie star, a music person to be a celebrity. Basically, that was just the criteria. Or you were just like a super or a supermodel or a supermodel. Those are the ones.
so here's a question: what celebrity death shocked you guys the most? If you had to pick one.
Well, granted, this one's a little older, but it's still quite shocking, is the death of Robert Williams, who sadly killed himself.
I think the crazy thing about some of these deaths is that they were all kind of avoidable. I ain't gonna say that. Because you gotta think about that. I mean, you think about like, you know, PNB Rock, for example, who got ran up on at a Roscoe. Could have been avoidable.
Yeah.
You know, and the real answer is, it really shouldn't have happened. It could have just been like a, yo, who are you? Let me make sure everything's good. You know, you may want to go, you know, after you do this, go shake hands with a couple of people and make sure everything's good. And keep on your way. It didn't have to get to that point. I just use that as an example because those are things that like happen. There's other things like, you know, when you think about like somebody like Hulk Hogan, there's another one. You know, you don't know if it was malpractice or not, and then how the family didn't really like transpire to like, you know, the family didn't really like ride with him like that, if that makes sense. Even though they did, but they wasn't really riding with him for the money. Like, you know, when certain celebrities, a lot of their family only rocked with them just because they're the breadwinner. They got the money, you know, they got the celebrity, the status, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But in Hogan's instance, it was like, Brooke Hogan's like, I don't even need your bread. You know, you still my dad. You know, we had our differences or whatever. Still love him. Obviously, she said all that. But it wasn't about the bread, which is like a complete 180 from what you would normally see. Because most people would be like, oh, I want every bit of that.
Yeah. And see, that was a kicker right there because she didn't go to the funeral.
I still think it's totally bogus how after he died, people started to care.
Mm-hmm.
Like people started rocking with him after he died, but when he was alive, crickets.
Because he did a lot of unnecessary things.
He did.
In his career, but you know that's what happens. That's the status.
But in the same conversation piece,
You can't support a dead man. He's dead.
right?
I know, but metaphorically speaking, if you put yourself in a blackboard to be the absolute best and stuff, but not knowing that some of the stuff you might say on national TV or social media might offend somebody, because that's basically what he went through because he offended somebody, or what he said, you know.
Now he did, and you dead right about that. But in the same conversation piece,
You can't knock down his pedestal. That's what I'm saying.
in the same conversation piece, there's people, celebrity or otherwise, who are going to do something that a lot of people ain't going to rock with. You understand that part.
It's almost like they're human.
Right, but in the same conversation piece, it was like, well, yo, you gotta give them some grace.
Yeah, we both heard it all. Watching ourselves and all over the place.
But
the Angela one is the one that hit me too.
D'Angelo only because it was quiet.
Yeah. And that one chick, forgot her name, from who played in 90210.
Shannon Doherty.
Yeah.
Well, she was dealing with she was battling for a long time. She was dealing with breast cancer and some other stuff. But she was battling. And sometimes when you're battling, it's just a matter of time. It was more of a shock how long she lived once she found out, and going through the chemo and all that stuff, and almost. So when they were doing the reboot of 90210, even though that reboot was kind of trash, but she was going to be involved in that at some point. She was going to get written into that script, and that tells you an awful lot about how well she was upholding, even within the confines of her chemo.
Here's the question. Since we're talking about celebrities and death, do you think death should affect an image? So basically,
Elaborate.
okay, so yeah, let me break it down a little bit here. So, when someone's alive and they have a up and down career, high highs, lows, all that, and then they die, and then when they're dead, all people want to talk about or really remember is their highs, typically, or their ups.
Or their lows, depending on
Or
who
their
they
lows.
are.
But my point is that instead of it being, actual history, it suddenly becomes binary. They were either a saint or a devil. It's like either, it's one or the other when people die. People tend to be less lenient or understanding when they're dead and gone. They always say, well, this person, he did all this good stuff, but he's dead now, so it's not right for him, all the bad stuff to do. Or the opposite, where, he did all this bad stuff, he's dead now, all his good don't matter, what he did, his evil matters more. I just find, but anyway, I'm just talking about it because people act funny when people die. I know that sounds a little stupid, but what I mean is that, I mean, you see this a lot, sadly, on, poor neighborhoods where a young guy dies, people have nothing really bad to say about him. They don't talk about the good he did, but the lifestyle he was leading was very different contrary to what he was saying.
You good? Keep going. Yeah. I need to wrap that up.
Well, no, because I'm talking about this life and death thing, not just for celebrities, but for people in general. Right? Because you see this thing a lot where, sadly a shooting or something happens in a lower income community, and they interview the mom or the dad or the brothers or the sisters and whatnot, and all they got to say about them was that, they were just a good person, just an upstanding member of the community, right? But then especially when they post online, you see how they live, the words and the actions aren't matching.
Because it's perception.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, so exactly. So when you're talking about perception, part of the perception is that to a parent, there's even if their kid was killer, like a real one, and they knew it, they ain't gonna tell nobody else that my baby ain't gonna ever hurt nobody, knowing that he was a killer. Even Jackie Dahmer's parents still rock with him, even though they knew how bad he got down. Just being honest with you. It's just perception. So you're only gonna go off of the info that you have. So the thing about the info that you have is that celebrities before, when they passed, you can only go off of the info that was presented in front of you.
Yeah.
But that info was very limited. Like when Mike passed and when Prince passed and when some of them passed years ago, yeah, there was still a little bit of a debate of, did people really love Mike versus hate Mike? But the overall perception was they loved Mike.
To this day.
Even to this day. But you want to know why? Because they didn't have even though they had some info on some of the stuff he did, they didn't have all the info. But most of what you got from people who love Mike was he was a good dude. Kind of like Prince. That's not to say they didn't do some bad stuff. That doesn't say that they wasn't on drugs and all that stuff. They weren't. Anybody who been around them knows that. Because that was the culture.
I'll say this. You should treasure people about what they did when they were living. Here, you should treasure the memories about all the quality stuff they did. Because, you know, we all not perfect. I don't care, it's not a perfect. It's not a perfect person on this planet who has not been in the line of sin. So, when you said that, you know, only people when we talk about them when they're not here, especially if they talk about them now when they're alive. Because, you know, we all been at one time in a relationship where we was like, you know what, we just, you know, we keep our distance for, you know, just, you know, sake of argument or sake of, you know, keeping the dominance and peace and stuff like that. But then now when they let it go on, then they'll say, you know what, me and him was like this, we was cool, you know, I miss him to death, you know, we all, every time we around each other, you know, everything was all Gucci and baby, but it's like, well, you're saying this because of dead, but you're not saying this because when he was alive. Like Cam said, the perspective changes like that.
And part of it is
and
that
part of it is, you know, and I hate to say it because people be on a lot of distance for sake, because I mean, can you recall the last time that you once like a family function? Even though certain people in the family were, but you recall the last good family function you had when everybody was alive?
when everybody was alive?
Oh, a few years ago for me.
About 5-6 years ago when my grandmother was alive. I can tell you exactly when it was. It was Christmas.
So,
Sorry, excuse me, Easter.
20 men. I say that because I'm still thinking about, you know, my God, when was the last time me and my family had a good family reunion, like pretty much everybody was here versus, you know, now.
Well, now here's the thing. Could y'all actually get along and actually do the family reunion without it being an issue?
Back then or now?
Now.
Now? Yeah, no, we won't. Because we all want some distance for some reason. I would love to, even because it's not my generation, it's the elderly generation.
I'm gonna tell you what's weird.
Apart, but it shouldn't be like that because, you know, life is short, and you know, if something happens to one of us, you know.
Life without
No.
forgiveness
I'm gonna tell you what's weird, and I'm gonna tell you how this kind of comes full circle. So this time last year, my father passed away. So when that happened, when I got the info, everybody on my father's side of the family, all my cousins, the ones who are living and stuff, was like, oh, we haven't heard from you for a long time. They always reminisce about, oh, y'all were the good kids and all this. You know, they go through the whole little speech and spill. Forward that conversation a year later, I haven't talked to my cousins since 11 months ago.
I feel that here?
Yeah.
I want to know.
Because when there's a tragedy or a situation where somebody passes away and stuff like that, everybody gets all emotional in the moment. But a lot of it is
Emotional distress?
No. It's in the moment. Does that make sense? It's not so a lot of people when they go through something traumatic, good or bad, it's in the moment.
No.
But it's not consistent. It's like, you know, if you want to like sit there and hang out and really get to know what was going on, you will be in more contact, if that makes sense, right?
Now here's a question. Bit of a drawing one, if you will. But if it happened in the moment, is it real?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, yeah.
It is real, but is it consistent?
No, let me rephrase that.
Okay.
It's real.
It's real.
It's real. I don't think we can deny that. Because if it happened, therefore it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Let me try this. Is it genuine?
If you can get back, if you can get past it.
No. Is it genuine?
That's a good question.
No. It's simple. If it's consistent. If I told you were my boy, but if I only saw you once every 8 months, are we really boys?
Do you at least text me good night?
No, I mean, this one here.
You gonna laugh, but then you're gonna be shocked. So I'm gonna say yes.
So why are we still boys if you only hang out once every 8 months? I mean, we cool.
But technically, we still keep touch with each other. We just keep our distance away until time goes.
It's called letting go.
Yeah.
No, it's called letting.
No, he's not on it. Because
I didn't say he was like.
You said he did 8 months.
No, I didn't say he did 8 months. I didn't say he was in the clean.
Not just call that.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to get to. You're trying to be funny. I didn't say he was in the clean club. Like that's different.
But my point is, you have those.
You can't visit another man in prison. You trying to get him killed?
But my point is, you have those type of friends. It's not a bad thing, unless it is a bad thing. But if it's not, then if we ain't see each other, for a couple months or 8 months or 2, but we'll still tap in every once in a while. That's still cool. So yeah, I'll say yeah, that's still.
No, I get that. But that's
as long as one knows I'm behind it, then okay, I'll see your point.
No, because what I mean by that is this, because there's levels to that. Now, if you've been, let's say that was your partner from high school. Mm-hmm. Y'all were hanging every single day. And then, as y'all grew apart, then it was like once every 8 months. That's one thing. Because y'all already established a foundation. But if there was no foundation established, I only saw you once every 8 months, once every 9 months, or we only talk on occasion, it's not the same. There is levels to this. And the reason why is because you have to establish that connection. It's like in any relation type situation, friendship or relationship. The more contact that you have, the more that you're building into each other, if that makes sense.
I totally agree with you on that.
And so, like, there are some people that's in your life who you may only see once every 9 months. So like my boys, like my 4 aces, shout out to them by the way. My 4 aces, I may not see them I only see them maybe once every year or once every 2 years. I didn't see my boy Tony in like 3 years. But here's the thing, is that so my boy? Yeah, but that's by virtue of we were hanging every single day while we were in high school and stuff, so we have a lot of that stuff established. This wasn't just like, oh, he's just my boy, you only hang out once or twice. Nah. This is like if you had a girl, you only saw her once. I'm trying to get you somewhere.
I already know when you get that, and I agree with you on that.
It's levels to this. And that's why I said, people get emotional in the moment, but it's really about the consistency within it. If you got consistency, that's how you farm up your friendships. That's how you farm up your relationships.
But take it back. Now, let's say now, as we talk on the subject of deceased people, people passing. So let's say now, time goes by, and that person you haven't seen in quite a while, now finally you hear that they passed. Are you showing up to the service or not?
If I haven't seen them in a while,
I would.
Don't mean I gotta be in it, but I did.
So yes, so there's levels to this.
You've seen it in movies.
Am I
standing by a tree?
So if one of my boys, if one of my boys, if one of my people who's like I'm like acquaintance of, or one of my high school friends or whatever, who I really wasn't like super tight to, they pass away. It's one thing. Yeah, I'll pull up. I'll be in the back. I'm sure. I'm still shaking hands with everybody, all that stuff. Now, if it's somebody who I'm in close proximity to, who I see more often, or I built something more foundational toward, that's different. I will talk. I will be a pallbearer, whatever that may look like. And really what that would come down to is, what would he want? Or what would she want, if that makes sense? If he or she, I need you to be the pallbearer, that's what it is. You was one of my 6 dogs. I need you to
tell him I didn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. I need you.
No. You know, I totally agree with that. But even within, you know, as life goes on and life passes on, you know, we forget about certain little things as well too. Just like, you know, we'll sit there and say, oh, well, you know, I wasn't typing with this person wasn't S to me, and then they died and stuff, and then they still say the same thing, and then later on down the road, when you know, now they're starting to feel it, it's like, you know, man, maybe I should have been more present, and maybe I should have, you know, acknowledged them a little bit more. Maybe I should have kept in touch with them,
or not.
Here's a question. On the topic of death, person passes away. Do you think, might used to be anyone, you know, wife, girlfriend, or friend, family, don't matter. But do you think it's bad when you only remember either the good or only just remember the bad? Basically what I mean is it bad, would you consider it a flaw to remember only one aspect of the person in that relationship?
Not necessarily.
Like, okay, say like, say it's a girl, right, tragic accident happens. All you remember about her is the good time. How she looked at you, how you held her hand, all that good stuff. Yet you don't remember, yet you deliberately forget all the time she gaslit you, took a 20 out of your wallet, stuff like that. You forget all of that. It still happened, but you just don't remember it. Because you're too focused on basically remembering the good. And therefore, isn't your view of her kind of skewed?
Is this 1913 or is this
when were we ever PG-13?
Man, you already know.
Or is this an XSS? Because I got. I'm gonna say
go
what I'm
ahead.
gonna say. I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. But because when you pause right there and said, and then look at me and said, "Don't say it." But in that heat of the moment, I think that person is only thinking about the good because what he got out of it.
Not true. I'm gonna be honest with you. You want to think about the good because
I mean,
by nature, you always want to think of the good in people.
No, that part I get, but what he was.
No, I know what he was
saying about.
But he said it wasn't didn't have to be like with your girl.
It was an example.
No, and it was a good example. But what I'm saying was this: for a guy's perspective, if they only think about, you know, they're not gonna think about the craziness if something happens to, you know, a lady friend or a girlfriend or something like that they're dealing with if they cheat. Some do, some don't. Some just, you know, try to remember the positive things.
Well, I think that's.
And that goes for anything, not just in a relationship.
Well, yeah, my question is,
I think most people think about everything in the positive before they would think about it in the negative initially anyway.
but the question was, is it bad when you just zero in on those? Whether they be good or bad. You kind of forget the other aspects.
Yes, only because you have to kind of keep both in perspective. You can't be like I tell you about my dad. I can tell you all the good things about my dad, but my dad was still on drugs, he was still on alcohol. He was the way that I found out about crack when I was like a 7-year-old. Yeah, I can tell you about the bad stuff. I'm not like completely incognizant of something like that. I think the problem that people have is they don't want to have that conversation when it comes to people who they truly love. So they're not going to have that conversation with their girl. Like she was the past. And be like, just like you said, well, yeah, my girl did this, and this. But my girl was also lying half the time. She cheated on me twice. We almost broke up. You know, you're not going to say all that.
Well, now I know why she said it.
Right, but I'm just, first of all, hey. I didn't say go OJ.
But he's not lying.
But I'm just telling you that don't you know why I just think that it really highly depends on who it is. If it's somebody who's your significant other, I think it's a different conversation. Or if it's your parents, I think it's a different conversation versus like friends.
I think the problem is, not a problem, but an observation is that basically all of us to pretty much every level in anything, we have a bias. No matter what, we have a bias.
It's a built-in bias. Absolutely. You're absolutely correct.
Right.
I can sit here and say how many people have moved on with people perish away. Probably don't even remember that person again.
Oh, I'll do one better. They don't even have to pass away. Just take them out of the proximity of where they are. Y'all went to high school together. One goes to get a job, one goes to college. They don't talk that much anymore. They used to be homies, calling every single day. No, I'm just saying. No.
The wood? Yeah.
The wood, the wood. So good. First of all, good point. You made me just remind me of something. So in the wood.
Probably. I don't remember.
In the wood, 4 boys, for people who are unfamiliar, Wood takes place in Inglewood, California, is about these 3 guys who are friends and whatnot. And one of the things that they were kept saying about was, you can't break up the groove, man. The wood, you can't break up the groove because one was going to go play ball, one was going to go to school because one could have went to school in the East Coast, but chose not to because he could have went and go be with his girl. His girl so happened and came back home and they kind of rekindled that part of it. But the whole thing was, no. But the reason why is that, it depends on, the situation. Certain situations, you're like, hey, keep the crew together. But at certain points, the crew do need to branch out. Y'all still got to be your own men. That's part of the story that they were trying to say, that they really didn't get too far along. And in life, the problem is that people have a different perspective on the ones who are just in the trenches. You got to be in the trenches with me forever. Now, there is a difference between being there, being in the trenches and all that stuff, and holding a person back from living a life. So, if you with your girl, and you just like, hey, yo, we're going to move to San Diego, we're going to get an apartment, I got a job out there, she got a job out there. Yeah, we got everything rocking with us, but I'm not going to be the one to tell you, nah, don't go establish with the girl. Like, no, we'll make it work. We still gonna podcast, we're gonna still get after this paper, we're gonna still do what we do. But we're gonna still let you live. Does that make sense? But a lot of people don't want to let people live.
Wait a minute, isn't that the crab bucket mentality?
Yes.
Because they don't want to.
They want to be the one to get out first.
No, it's like, no. I ain't dying. We dying.
Yeah, no, because they want to be first, so they can show that I'm the one who's first. I'm the one who's first. I don't care about who's first.
I've been through that. Still going through that. Because when you, and that's a part of the reason why I said, and that's a good, when you talk about how people react when people are not around anymore versus when they are around. Because see, you dealing with, if you have a big family and then everybody's just trying to perish away, and it's only just 2 siblings left, but y'all still connected with each other, you might even live together. But then when you try to branch out, sometimes they can't branch out themselves because they're still holding on to everything else and whether they lost somebody or in a relationship or lost somebody or anything like that. But in life, you make a decision on whether, if you're going to still be present around everybody else, regardless of any issues you got. Because, every family member is going to have a disagreement. That's important to look at. But you shouldn't be on some distant stuff just because, one person said this about one person. Not everybody else affected by that because everybody else thinks that one person just, so distorted, so
no, it's not even that.
They can't drop what they do.
It's not even that part. You ain't even, the reason why they give you slack, because you ain't on the block. What do I mean by that? Y'all all live on the block together, right? Y'all all kicking all the family on the block. Y'all hit the block. But as soon as one person get off the block, when y'all gonna come back to the block, y'all wanna come in, y'all wanna get back in the hood. It's the same principle. You trying to get out to make a life better for yourself. Your family getting out, your mama getting out, your brother, everybody getting out to make a bigger thing to get out. But it's still the rest of the family, your cousins, your friends. When you coming back to the block? When you gonna come kick it with us?
Isn't that kind of parasitic?
Yes, but see, and when the person passes away, which connects the 2 dots. So when the person passes away, here's the thing. you'd be like, oh, poor Paul, he passed away for a period of time, and then know what they're gonna do about like 2 weeks, 3 weeks later? Not even think about it. In certain people will be like that.
And like I said before, we ain't selling this. Like, where's my money?
Yeah, exactly.
I want my money. If you don't know, I want my money.
Exactly. But that's how certain people are.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, you know, like I said, certain people don't have to die for that to happen.
It's not the. I mean, it's not to make laugh about, but it is funny because it happens all the time. I've been in this situation, and we just sit back and just look like, you know, it happens now when. Like this issue, I mean, you know, I'm not gonna say it in front of you, but you know, I told you that's what happened.
Yeah, we know.
But after that happened, I'm just sitting like, this how it's supposed to be, or what the F really did happen on this?
No.
I mean, you know, we all, you know, as time changes, you know, we get older. Some of us get wiser, some of us don't. Some of us still have that same mentality that they can't change.
See, everybody said they get older and wiser. So some people just get older.
Yeah, it's like
we don't give you credit of the wiser.
there are those who grow up and there are those who grow old.
I'm still trying to be classy on that.
No, forget all that. No. Some people, there's certain, I'm gonna keep it playing with y'all. You know, there's certain people who get older and wiser because you know what they do? They learn through their life experiences, they learn through their mistakes, they learn through people who's helping them and teaching them and growing and developing. But there's other people who just get old. They don't. They get stuck in their ways. You know, our family members who've been stuck in their ways since they were 30, 40 years old. They've been the same way. Live in the same house. They wear the same kicks. They wear the same Averex jacket. No. They got the one members only. Why do I say that? Because they're stuck in their ways. I gotta eat my food this way. I gotta clean this way.
Isn't that toddler behavior?
Yes, no, they're just stuck. But if you try to tell them, oh, there's a better way to clean this, quicker, efficient, you know, spill magic. I use that as an example because the reason why spill magic, no, I gotta mop it up, I gotta do all this stuff. You can just drop some spill magic on that thing, clean it up, and be done in like 2 minutes. What are you talking about? I use that as an example because people aren't willing to even think about changing their perspective.
Well, some people can't take those words of wisdom without getting criticism for them.
Sometimes you have to get hurt to get something.
Yes, of course, and that's not to say that that's not to say that no, you don't listen to the people who live, because there's certain people who live who do grow with experience, but not everybody who's growing older grows older with experience. They just grow older.
See, the problem is that the people are, they're concerned.
I ain't scared.
But some people are concerned with their appearance, not their physical appearance, but their more of their vibe, if you will.
Exactly.
I mean, most of the time in life, no matter how old you get, most of the time you gotta look stupid to be smart.
Right.
In the sense of, most people who try to look smart are stupid.
Right. And I always tell people, here's what you don't want to be. I always tell people, what you don't want to be is the smartest person in the room.
That means you got something wrong.
No, that's always been my problem. I think that's my problem as of late.
I'm gonna say, well, you prefer to somebody else or you prefer to yourself?
It could be both. Because there's nothing. This fool here. No, that's my problem.
But see, right there.
No, but you can't be the smartest person in the room all the time. Does that make sense?
Yes.
No,
Echo chamber.
At certain points, yes, you do need to be the smart person in the room. Because you do have to be the one to teach and train and develop. But there's certain points where you can't be the smartest person in the room. I can't walk into every single environment and be the smartest one. I can't be at work and be the smartest one. Be at home and be the smartest one. Be in this environment and be the smartest. I can't be the smartest one. And you want to know why? I'm not grown.
Oh, I did.
So I can't be the smart one. But there's certain people who they get off being. There's some people who get off being the smart one. They want to be the smart one. They're like, I'm the smart one. I don't get off being off.
Here goes a question. Something like that. So, what do you do, or not? What or how you do? What do you change in that category? I mean, what do you have to change in order to be where you need to be, so that way, if anything happens with that, people can still remain
Humility.
Exactly.
You need humility.
You got. I mean, you say you know, speak to the word right out of my mouth. You gotta be humble.
Yeah, here's the thing. No, but
See, people right there, not to cut you off,
Right.
people can be humble without always being humility, because they'll say, oh well, they're not taking me serious, they're just making fun
Well, no,
of me because
exactly.
they don't like
They're going to.
my goals or aspirations when I'm trying to work for myself, or just being a regular person.
Well, no,
They're
the problem
going
is the word humiliation has negative connotations,
Right.
right? Because no one ever wants to be quote unquote humiliated, right? But humiliation, or to humiliate yourself, is just basically to lower yourself, be humble in a way, right? Humility is a very, very important virtue. Matter of fact, you can't even be a believer in God without humility.
Exactly.
Because you have to humble yourself, bring yourself low, very low. Why? Because once you realize who He is and what you are, humility is the correct response. If you get pride out of it, something has gone very, very wrong. Humility is key to a way of life. Now, obviously, I'm not saying you don't be a doormat. You know, you're not a rug to be,
How you use that analogy? No, that's a
No,
great,
he's not wrong.
That's a great term, because that's something that people gonna always deal with.
Let me put it this way real quick. Right? Just because you're on your knees doesn't mean you can't do an uppercut.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. Just because you're low, that doesn't mean that you don't fight, that you're like you're not a punk. Just because you're humble. All that means is that you don't have to be boasting and bragging about what your accolades are and stuff all the time. You don't have to do that. All you have to do
And I
is
use these quotes because one of my favorite quotes, even though it's from the movie, Rocky, he said it right there. You gotta learn how to take the hits in order to get where you need to get to. You're gonna get hit.
well, it's not.
So if you're gonna have to deal with humiliation.
No, it's not in time. Because of that, there's certain people. I'm gonna tell you, there's a lot of people in life who don't take hits. What do I mean by that? They don't have to. There's a lot of people who got the money, got the power, got the influence, got the smarts. They do. But for them to be relatable, but for them to learn, for them to grow, they have to bring themselves down to a level where that's relatable, which means that you can be driving a $100,000 car, $300,000 car. No, true. But those ones can be very relatable. Those same ones still could be a $300,000 car and still walk up in a Walmart and still drop you a nugget or two. It happens more often than not. Y'all just don't know it and don't see it because y'all don't see them being humble. But see, a lot of people will see that, and they'll be like, oh, you got it. And the first person they'll say, like, oh, you got a $300,000 car? That's a great car. Where'd you get it? And the dude who got the car was like, what? It's not.
Here, I'll put it this way.
And I met many people like that. When I was at Microsoft, that was a regular thing. And they're like, it's nothing. It's nothing. I was like, I'll be almost willing to give this joint away. They don't care about it.
It's kind of summing up a little bit.
It's a joke.
I'm going to take this is a quote from Teddy Roosevelt. Right. This is from his famous speech, Man in the Arena. Right? It's not that long, so just give us a little listen.
But he didn't say nothing about Scotty. So I think it was completely different ballgame.
It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. but who does actually strive to do obedience, who knows great enthusiasm, great devotion, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls, who neither know victory nor defeat.
What?
I heard it before, but
Huxtables.
But that's just the thing. If you're going to live this life, well, no, but that's what I read that because if you're going to live this life, whether you're living it wrongly or rightly, whether you're living it as an unrepentant sinner or as a forgiven sinner, there's going to be experiences. No matter what you do, if you live a life of hidden timidness, right, or even worse, vain pride, you will know nothing but humiliation, not humility, humiliation and defeat, especially in the end. It is only those who humble themselves before the Lord himself that they shall know victory. Not that they will never know defeat, for in this life you will know much defeat, but it is the final victory that we pray for and have your hope on, the victory that Christ earned. That victory is the victory we are to live in until we take our last breath, final victory. In this life we may have small victories, we may have major defeats. We will have both in this life, but that's what it means to live this way. There is nothing more displeasing to God than a fence-sitter and a hypocrite.
Because I think a lot of things too where people go wrong, and I know I don't make this official, because sometimes a lot of people critique of what their life is supposed to be. But then
And the friends, I was
when
going
they
to
come,
come with a big kid
and
down
they'll go down the road wondering why they're still in the same position or still in the same place because they critique of what their life is supposed to be and fantasize of how they're supposed to live,
walk out,
live.
stop the truck, you walk out with mom,
You know,
and third girl with Mark, but yeah.
they get defeated, but then
Hey, buddy,
So I'll answer that part with this.
Go ball,
The
no.
reason why that people are in the same spots that they're in,
No.
because they haven't
Why
learned the
not?
lesson.
It wouldn't be any good. We got blood. Now some girl was there.
So there's always going to be lessons that you learn. You're like, well, why am I not in
He
this
got
particular
tired of getting
position?
all those years.
Because you haven't passed the test
Said,
to
no, I
get
just
yourself in
got
that
this in the
position.
week.
So the Lord opens doors all the time for you. But sometimes in the opening of the doors, you gotta pass through certain things to know that I'm going to be able to handle the next door that's supposed to be open to you. If the Lord doesn't think you're ready to handle a particular situation, you know what you're gonna do? You're gonna keep going through it again and again and again and again until you learn what you're supposed to learn, and then you'll figure out. So,
but see, sometimes when you do get to that certain point, and it's open for you, but sometimes somebody's holding it back for you so you won't.
no, sometimes they're not holding it back.
But sometimes
They're not holding it back.
clear it up too, but sometimes they don't.
No, sometimes they're not holding it back. Sometimes that door is not open. Sometimes that's the door just because it's open. That doesn't mean that's the door you're supposed to walk through. So you gotta have discernment to figure out what's the door you're supposed to walk through. Because and here's the thing, and sometimes that guidance, the Lord's gonna know. When that door's open, you know what you're not gonna have? Resistance. You will not have resistance. No, should not. You're not going to have resistance. Because if the Lord says this door is supposed to be open, it's going to open a clear day. If you're supposed to get a particular job, that process and path is going to be relatively easier because that's the door that is supposed to open up for you.
This is why.
That doesn't mean that you're not going to go through a little bit of trial and work or whatever it may be, but it's going to open up if that's where you're supposed to be.
This is why doubt is so dangerous. Because people will doubt when they start to struggle. People who approach Christianity, or life in general, but more important Christianity,
Right.
And they're expecting Jesus, the Holy Spirit of God, to just give them nothing but pure blessing, pure strength, pure victory, all day, every day, all the time. Nothing but good vibes. He didn't read the text. He didn't read the book. He did not promise a good life. No, he promised eternal life.
Right.
Difference.
But you're going to work.
My point being, yeah, you're going to work. But people who are like, well, I believe in Jesus, but my car broke down, my dog died, I got fired from work, you know, my left hip hurts, I can't see out of my left eye. All these things. And they start listing off all these problems. And what do? Instead of crying out for help to God, or instead of crying out to the members of the church, they doubt. They doubt God. They doubt the one who saved them. They doubt the one who cares for them. Doubt is such a very dangerous thing because you only doubt when you're ignorant.
No, you doubt when you're scared. So, or you doubt when you really don't. You see, this is when you know you truly believe or not.
Because if you knew, you wouldn't doubt.
Right. And because see, the thing is, and that's where people get faith completely wrong. Faith, trust, same word, it's the same thing, different, same word, sentence. So the thing is, people will be like, well, I have faith in God. Yeah, when it's convenient for you. But what if everything starts going sideways? You do lose your job. You do lose somebody in your family. Something does break down on your car. You do break up in your relationship. Are you still going to have that same faith that the Lord's going to pull you through? A lot of people, they say it, but do they truly believe it? Because it's two different things to that.
Can you lose everything? Everyone should be answering. Can you lose everything and still genuinely worship God from the heart?
Right, and that's the tough thing. That's the story of Job, by the way.
I can touch you on that question you just asked. I think, well, two things. It's something you told me last time too. How I was last year versus how I am this year. So, to answer that question, what you just said, I think when I was in my 20s, when I was struggling a lot too, I would have said, no, I still not my relationship with God and stuff like that, because everything is happening. Versus now, I struggle still, but now that I'm older, not even necessarily older, now, I have a better understanding of what God is trying to do for me.
Right, and the thing is, and that's what I said.
And he's still working on it. I said, he's still working on it.
It's a process. It's a process, and you gotta remember, we're gonna go through that process every day until we're not here. Until we're in heaven.
What you just said, Ken, for me, and I'll say this right now because it protects me too. I'm not afraid that when God opens that door for me, I'm just afraid when I do go through that, the ones behind me, not you guys, in general, it's not going to understand me. That's all that I'm afraid of.
But here's the thing, and I'm gonna tell you this straight. It is not.
But you know particularly.
No, it's not for everybody to understand. Especially not initially. You know what you're supposed to be. Your light is supposed to shine. So that means that your life path, as you're growing, as you're walking God is growing, as you're doing more things in your life to better yourself, to be a better man.
It was very hard to get up.
People are still going to wait. People are still going to be like, come back to the hood, do this. And we just talked about this. There's going to be other people who will be like, yo, keep pushing, keep going. There's going to be certain people like, I don't understand what that boy did. It's okay. It's not for everybody to grasp, get, or understand until you get to that second point. And once you get to that second point in your life, then people are going to be like, oh, that makes all the sense in the world. People are always, if you want to use yourself as an example, you just make that example now. Take where you were from your job before to where you are now, and look at the people who's at the job asking, hey, Paul, how you doing? What's your life like? They don't completely understand, but they recognize. But they also recognize that there's a difference in you, because you're not going in there with the same down, defeated, everything's bad, doom and gloom. In the world, it's, yo, I got a lot of things working. I still got a job. And I'm still working towards getting something better. I still got projects I'm working on. And I'm still working towards better. People are going to, they may not understand it all, but they will recognize, but they also will recognize that there is a difference within your life. And when they understand it, they're going to ask questions. Now, that's where you'll be able to say, this is how it impact. This is how the impact was made. And that impact is not, this impact is not because of, well, it was a big thing or a caring thing. No, it was a God thing. God put us together to do something like this, to give a platform so we can do what we do, and in turn, teach, inform, train, bless others. Why? Bigger than us. In turn, your light shines, big light shines, my light shines. You know what that does? People ain't going to understand it. There's some people who need it. Cool. And for everybody. But you will understand that it's not about me. It's about God who works in me to do what I do.
That's what I was about to say. Basically, should you belong to him, and you are his, and if you are his, then the guarantee is this. No matter where you are, no matter where you go, no matter how far it goes, everything that you become is evident of his work in you. Which means becoming a wiser man, a more sanctified man, a more repentant man, a more humble man, a more giving man, a stronger man, right? That's not part of your effort. Your only job is to submit. And in submission, the Lord will do his work. Obviously, I don't believe in the saying, let go, let God. No, that's crazy. That's stupid. You have to do your part. And your part is submitting to him. Submission is active, not passive.
And even in mistakes,
which there will be plenty of.
Right, even in mistakes, that doesn't mean that God ain't working.
No.
That just means that, I messed up on this one. Cool. But how do you respond?
You repent daily.
Yes.
You confess, you repent, and you go on.
Say it again for the kids in the back.
You confess,
say that.
You repent,
say that.
And you continue. You do not stop. Wallowing in your sin in itself is a sin. Because you're doubting the goodness of God. He says, guess what? He says, you are forgiven. It is done. Pick yourself up and keep going.
Pick up your cross and follow me.
You drop your cross. Guess what? Pick it up. Keep going. You stop walking. All right. Take a breath. Keep going. You don't stop. It's a continuous march until you die. And literally, until death, it is not done.
Until the Lord says it's time for you to go in heaven, you keep walking.
Because remember, he's not keeping you alive for your sake. He's keeping you alive for his glory. It just so happens his glory involves your salvation.
And his glory also involves you impacting others.
Exactly.
That's what you understand. If you're going to impact others, you're only around because the Lord allows it to be, and it's not even, people think it's because of them. No, it's in spite of us. It's in spite of me. I'm here because I need to impact others. You're here because you need to impact others. You impact me a bit. We impact each other, for example. But we impact much more bigger people that we probably ain't even been across yet. That's why we skip one. That's why we're living. That's why certain people aren't around. Because the Lord may have said, either A, they ain't gonna get it. It's over. Or B, they said that, look, you've done well, my good faithful servant. It's time. And we don't know the answer to which one it is, but in either event, it was his calling.
Yeah, because there are those who are, while their sins are forgiven, while they do belong to God, no one or nothing can change that, because once God makes his choice on salvation, it's permanent, they can still be bad stewards. They can still enter into the kingdom with shame. Because it talks about at the end of the age, when all those who are Christ be judged, you're not being judged for your sins. No, Christ took care of that. You're being judged for your time. How you spent your time. And if it was spent on eternal works, it'll last. If it was spent on vanity, it burns away. Though you yourself escape the fire, all the stuff you did, dust and ash, no benefit, no nothing, you yourself will escape the fire, but only things that benefit the kingdom will last. We have a really good sense of what that is. Preaching, teaching, kindness, care, donation, if you will, community work,
basically servitude.
but even all that stuff can be bad if it's done with the wrong motive. Motivation also plays a massive part. Why are you doing what you do? Are you doing it out of a grateful heart, or are you doing it out of are you trying to earn something?
Are you trying to show off? Or are you trying to be flashy? Yeah. Are you trying to do that?
So, there's a lot of things to consider, but at the end of the day, all you need to do, or needs to be, confess, repent, humiliate yourself before the Lord, and if you do that, you will live. You will become the man God wants you to be. Not the man you want to be, not the man I want to be, not the man he wants to be. The man God wants you to be. And that's the man I want to be. The last thing I ever want to be is my own. I think the most terrifying thing God can ever tell someone is do whatever you want.
No, because people are doing whatever they want. What does that get them? Looting the 7-Eleven, trying to blow up a couple of buildings. That's when you leave people to their own devices. I'm just telling you that when you leave people to their own devices, that's the type of mindset they have.
But
anyway,
before we close out,
I got no final thoughts, so let's just skip some.
we'll do. I'll close out like we always do. First and foremost, before we get up out of here, shout out to all the subscribers. All the subscribers, we appreciate each and every one of y'all, of course. It's a privilege and honor to have y'all along, and for people who's catching us in crossing, we never did really introduce ourselves, but since y'all should know, Paul Big Cam, PVC Podcast Crew, y'all know how we get down. Not yet. Shout out to our affiliates, of course, World Heat Entertainment. Shout out to Jay Slang and the boys, of course. Shout out to Dirty Joe, of course. Shout out to Boom Shasta and the crew out there. I'm sorry I wasn't able to catch the box naughty there, but I heard y'all got all the way busy out in Altamont, California. But when y'all outside again, I would definitely be outside representing with the rest of the squad. Outside of that, Hilltop Brawl 3 is on the way. Hopefully that drops around Christmas. Hopefully that'll be a Christmas gift that gives. Keep on giving. We'll let y'all know when that drops, of course. Besides that, we've been a privilege on I know this wasn't like the main topic of conversation. We just kind of led into it. But it's always a privilege and an honor to do this. If we don't get a chance to get a podcast up prior to, y'all have a great Christmas, a happy holiday season. Y'all be safe out there. Be aware of your surroundings, all that good stuff. Enjoy it with your family. Show love to the family. So on behalf of Paul Vic, have a great Christmas, great holiday season. And besides that, you know how we do. We'll be outside next week. We got Sunday, Monday. We're going to be outside. We may be in a different venue. Y'all see me in a different venue today. We may be in a different venue next week. So keep rocking along with your squadron. But you know how we do. For my man Paul, for my man Vic, my name is Cam, a.k.a. Nerd Boy Fresh. And now y'all 50-50. Y'all know how we do. It's God above everything. For the next time, family, we will do this again soon. Salute.